Howdy folks, TJ here. My office looks a little bit different today, right? Normally I'm sitting in my office desk all excited to play with one of my retro computers or periodically maybe bring out a Tenkar rod and talk about it. But it's been a long time since I've done any Volkswagen videos, and I have never really done many that I can think of anyway. Maybe just of my synchro walk around when I was selling it, and it wasn't, fun stuff where I was working on it or things of that nature. So I wanted to do a video today, mostly to get me back into the Volkswagen spirit and just talk about my Volkswagens a little bit. And maybe some of you will enjoy this. I'm sure some of my retro nerd computer friends wrench on some type of car. Maybe they enjoy that little shade tree mechanic. That's the proper word. That's kind of me. I wasn't raised in a family that worked on vehicles. My dad definitely didn't. One of my brothers, I think, did a little bit, but never was a wrenching person myself. But I did get infatuated with Volkswagen, so you have to kind of learn a little bit. And I'm kind of a do-it-yourselfer, so I'm willing to jump in and kind of learn stuff. But I'm very, very slow. I try to do it right. I've never done it before in some cases, so I methodically work my way through it. But it takes a long time, and I find that other things that don't bust knuckles, like playing with retro computers, kind of have caught my time in the last 2 years, because I started this brake job just on the front end 2 years ago. And I got my driver's side done relatively quick for me. I think it was about a month I had it all wrapped up. Then I moved over to this side, took everything apart, and then I kind of dropped off in terms of Volkswagens. Fishing season was there. I'd much rather go out in Tenkara than wrench on a vehicle. So Tenkara took over and I enjoyed fishing. Then all of a sudden, retro computers kind of grasped my attention again. I've been using computers since the 70s. But in terms of collecting and actually using and making videos, I really dove into it 2 years ago, full time. And for the last couple of years, I've been doing a lot of videos on retro computer stuff. So wrenching on old Volkswagens kind of just dropped off. I just lost my love for it, to tell you the truth. I'd much rather get in a modern vehicle and go camping and enjoy and not have anything break down than be on the side of the road, because I'm not good at breaking down and then fixing something on the side of the road. I've done it. It's not fun for me. So I'll be truthful. I'd rather everything work the way it's supposed to. And with an old Volkswagen, you got to keep up on it. And I'm I kind of keep up on it, but I'm due for stuff to fall apart. So brakes, this particular vehicle is 67 Westy. From when I bought it, was pulling to the left. And I finally said I'm tired of it. I need to do a complete brake inspection on the front. Left side, the wheel cylinders were shot, so it was closing and is staying closed, so it was pulling to the left. So, front end job. So I started doing that 2 years ago. Like I said, things got in the way, and I've kind of not done diddly squat. So I give myself a D- for this brake job so far. I've done a fine job on the left side. In fact, I need to look at... I saw something on a video last night that I wanted to pay attention to. It looks okay. Anyway, so I started this side, and I think... if I remember right, brand new hoses on here, and I've got everything tightened down. I put 2 new wheel cylinders on, and I left it at where I needed to torque them down. I do have a little cheat sheet that I printed out 2 years ago, and it says wheel bearing lock nut, 50 foot-pounds. There's some wrenchers that would just go and not torque it or anything. I'm not that kind. If I do it, I want to make sure it's done right, at least to the best of my capability. So it's time to get back into this. I want to start driving my Volkswagen again. Maybe if I'm doing that, it'll give me some excitement to wrench on Volkswagens again, and maybe I can practice a little bit of what I call Kaizen. I should have probably said that at the beginning of the video, but if you're not familiar with the word, it's a Japanese word, and it kind of means go out every day and practice on something, even if it's just a minute, and over time, you're going to get better at it. So maybe what I'll do is, I'm not going to set a time schedule yet, but maybe at least once a week, come out here, and whether it's putting in one nut and torquing it down, or doing one complete thing and doing it and then moving on, maybe that's going to get me excited about this again. So today, I just wanted to get out here make sure everything is tightened down the way that it should have. Make sure that these are torqued down, because I got pretty far. I got 2 new wheel cylinders on here, and I think I left it out where I just need to torque these down. It's been so long I forget if I did it or not. Then, today still, I would like to at least get my brakes pads looked at again. I forget if this side was the side that needed the new brake pads or not. One side, and I'm trying to remember if it was that side, the pads were pretty bad, and so I replaced them. But on this side, I think if I remember right, the pads on this side are really good. There's a lot left on them, so I think I'm just going to put them on here, and the drum didn't look scored or bad or anything. I'm not going to, at this point, go out and redo the drums and all that. I know that's really the proper way to do it, but at this point, I want to get this on the road again, and if it comes down to where next year I need to do that, then so be it. But I procrastinated enough. I need to get this on the road, and the brake pads looked to be pretty dang good, and the drum looked fine too to me. So maybe I can at least get the brake pads on here, and then I'll call that. That's my Kaizen for the day. And then next week, maybe I can come out here and do the drum, because the bearings on the drum were, the previous owner must have wrenched this on too tight. You can only wrench it on so much and make sure that washer has a little bit of room to wiggle just a little bit, because otherwise the bearings get beat to hell, and mine were. They're kind of oval instead of round. So I've got new bearings, and I need to pop those into the drum, and all that takes time, and then I need to repack the drum and get it on here. And then once I've done that, then it's going to be adjust the brake stars on each side, and then do a brake bleed, which I have not done for... when did I own my thing last? It's been probably 10 years since I bled a brake. So again, everything's going to be new to me. I'm going to methodically go through it, but I want to progress, and I want to get better, and I want to get this done. So a little Kaizen is going to be in my Volkswagen lifestyle a little bit. Maybe it'll get me excited again about it. And so thanks for watching. I'll come back. I'm not going to do a step-by-step video on what I do, but maybe when I get everything bolted down, I'll come back on and say, hey, everything's torqued. Stop the video, then I'll come back and do another video where, hey, I've got the brake pads on. Woo! So at least I'll progress along. I know it's kind of still lame and slow, but that's me for Volkswagens. I'd rather, like I said, right now I'm urging to go back inside and play with my new Spectrum Next computer. But I'm forcing myself to come out here, and you shouldn't have to force yourself on something, which means it's maybe telling you don't really like it that much. And I'll be truthful, I'm not one to go out in a shop and just wrench all day, every week. It's just not me. I'll admit to that. But I still want to do it, and I get a little enjoyment out of it. So I want to do it, and maybe if I push myself a little bit, I'll appreciate it even more, and I'll get back into Volkswagens a little bit more like I used to be years and years ago. So anyway, thanks. I'll come back here in a little bit and see where I got. All right, I looked on my little cheat sheet, and these wheel cylinders, these 2 bolts on each one need to be bolted down to about 40 to 43 foot-pounds. So I'm going to go 42. That's my rationale. Not quite, on the loose side, not quite on the super tight side, kind of right in the middle. I'm a big fan of, I've been having tools from Craftsman since I was a kid. Husky at the same time. Lots of Husky stuff. And now a lot of my tools, I really have fallen in love with Teng Tools. Teng Tools has a very nice satin chrome finish. I have this thing, if your tools look cool, whatever makes you feel good, having tools that look nice make me feel good. So Teng Tools look really nice, and I've purchased some really nice socket sets from them, and really liking them. But so today, my actual torque wrench, this is a Husky brand. So I have in 1/2 inch, 3/8, and 1/4. I've got their, in my opinion, really nice for me, home mechanic guy, torque wrench. So this is a 3/8, and I've got a Teng Tool extension with the, I think this is 15. Yeah, 15 millimeter is what these are. So I've got it set to 42 pounds. Let's see if I actually set them last year to the right. Nope. I did not. So I'll tighten each one. Oh, that one's got it. Good enough. Give each one one more clink. Bottom done. Good. I'm kind of anal where I just do a couple clicks more. All right, I feel those are perfectly tight now. So I did check my hose the hose and the connections here are all tied up to here. I had done that, and I got this mostly in, but I never did that, and that's where I remember I left off. So cool. So that's part's done. I can check that off. My Kaizen's working for today. So maybe next for me is getting the stars. I think I bought some new ones. I've got a whole bunch of stuff that you can't see down here on the floor. So for the last 2 years, I've had everything kind of right here for me to come back to. I've got a whole bunch of tools here. That's the way I work. Anyway, so cool. That's done. Now let's move on and see if I could do a little bit more today. Cool. All right, my Kaizen was disturbed a little bit. I've got a 14-and-a-half-year-old Siberian Husky. She's at the later parts of her life here. Her appetite's really dropped off. About between 7.5 and 9, she had 3 ACL operations on her back end, both legs. So she's been pretty much a gimp ever since. And as you get older, you know, pains and stuff happen. So we've got her on various medications and such. But in the last number of weeks, her appetite's really dropped off. I've gotten to the point where I have to cook up actual, you know, she eats better than we do. Buying steaks and beef and cooking it up for her. If we try to give her dog food, she pretty much snubs at it. Maybe if she's really hungry, she'll eat a little of it. But that's after taking an appetite pill to make her excited about food. I had she didn't eat this morning that much, and I put out a little bowl of food, and she was knocking it over. I could hear her over in the background. So I took a little break, got some paper towels. I'm going to need that paper towels for this stuff, the anti-seize. This silver stuff really gets all over the place. Anyway, so I grabbed that when I was in the house, gave her a little bit of dog food. She ate a little of it, and now she pretty much just sleeps all day. You know, she's at that point of her life. So we're just trying to give her the best ending day she can. So hopefully she lasts a little bit longer, but yeah, cooking, she eats better than we do, my wife and I say. And she snubs her nose at ground turkey or chicken. It now has become where it has to be beef or steak pieces. All right. So, what did I get? So, here's the Volkswagen brake adjusters. You'll see that they move pretty freely. So I remember I cleaned these last year. I had to buy one new one, which I think is this one, and one old one still worked okay. It wasn't so boogered up I couldn't use it, and it seems to move in pretty freely enough for me here, so should be good to use that one. And this new one works pretty well. Wish I would have had bought another one, but such is life. So what am I going to do? I'm going to put a little bit of the anti-seize around this part here, because that, and I don't have a close-up, but that goes into the brake holes here. And I want the threads on this and this to be pretty loosey-goosey to where they, in the future, if I have to adjust brakes, it's a little easier. So those are those. Hopefully that come up, and time for some anti-seize. I'm not going to show me lubing this thing up. I don't think you need to see that. But I'll get them in here, and then we'll start the next little part. So next step is done. You'll see I've got the brake adjuster here and here. I used that anti-seize stuff, and man, that stuff gets all over your hands. Little goes a long way. So that part's done. So next up is to inspect my brake pads again and see if the springs look good and all that, and see if I can get those mounted on here. That's the next step, so keep on watching. All right, I'm back. Funny, I just made a cut of me showing off the drum pads and stuff. and I had mentioned my camera had a message on it that it was too hot. I've got a metal garage here. It is a hot day. Doesn't feel that hot yet, but it said the video may be affected, and I made a joke. It would cut up. It's like this. And I went back in the house to take a little break, Kaizen and all. And yeah, it was choppy, so I need to do this cut again. So brake pads. So let me show you. So this is the side that had the problem brake pads. So the other side, I'm going off of memory now, the pads were really good. Thick, no problem, so I stuck with those pads on there. New wheel cylinders all around, period. I wasn't going to screw with that, but if the pads look really thick and good, I was going to stick with it. So this side is the one that has a chunk out of the top of the pad. I don't know if that's really a big deal. I'm not a mechanic, but anytime chunks are missing from stuff, that tells me there's a problem. But the pad's got tons of material left on it. So I'm going to just eventually ask a question, you know, is this good as a backup? You know, you should carry some parts with you. And maybe you have sometime a brake explosion and this pad completely breaks in half. I don't know if that's possible or not. But maybe this pad and the other one, which looks fine and has as much material, would be fine as an emergency, right? So I'll figure that out. And then I looked at my springs. Springs could be reused, but they're pretty grimy, dirty, and old and crusty. And I purchased a new set of springs anyway. I was well prepared, and I was figuring I'd replace a lot of parts. So I'm going to put new springs on this side and new pads. Nice, thick, new, brand new. And so, yeah. So that's my next step here, is to get those on. And I forget if in my last little cut here, I noted that these little rubber pads on the wheel cylinders, you want to make sure that inside, I peeled back the pad and I made sure that the little slot that this brake fits into, this bottom part here, kind of keys into here, and you need to make sure it's lined up so it works properly. So I line those up on both sides, and then once I get them on, I'm going to peel the rubber back a little bit just to make sure that they are in the way they're supposed to. And then I'll come back to say, hey, I've got that part done. And so that's the next cut. So I need to get to work. All right, my Kaizen's working good today. I'm doing more than a minute. But I did get my pads on. Or shoes, however you want to call it. Some people call it different things. So a little bit of a that's probably the trickiest part that I remember having to do. You'll look at these springs, depending on how you hold them, this can be closer to something or farther away. So when I first started putting these in, I had it backwards. I had them on the right side. They need to be on the inside, and you need to fish them up through the holes here. But I had this up here, so it was binding on here. And at first I started scratching my head, and then I go, oh, I see. So this one needs to be basically pointed down. So this is farther away from the cylinder here, and this one needs to go up, so it's farther away. So that, and along with a nice pry bar, because once you feed the keyed ones in, this one and this one, I get those in first, because there's a little key in there you have to make sure it fits into. And then I put this one on next, all by hand. But this last one, these springs have some good tension to them. So I wrap this middle part here. I don't have the proper word in my head. What is that? I'll worry about that later. I'm not a mechanic. It is what it is. But I put some wrap around it not to get it all boogered up. And I basically wrapped the towel around it. And then I did this. And I used some leverage to pop this one into down here. So those are on now. So what's next? Well, drum. I need to go ahead and let me see if I kept the cylinder. Is this the old cylinder? The wheel bearing. The other side was beat to hell. I forget what the condition of this one was. And I don't remember if this is the right one for this side. I think it is. But I need to go find my parts. Again, it's been a long time. So I'm going to get the drum, which is someplace. Where's the, I don't know where the drum is. It's under here someplace. Get the drum, and I need to relook at the bearings. I'm just replacing them anyway. Get those in. Take some pounding and some that fun stuff, and put the seal on and get it all greased up and then pushed over the top. So that's the next step. Will I get that done today? I don't know. I've had some progress though. You know, I've moved along. That was my main goal of doing this video. So I'll quickly decide here. It's getting hot in this garage and starting to sweat a tad, and maybe it's time to take a break, but we'll see. So thanks for watching thus far. I did remember something I forgot to do, but I think I can just pull back these pads a little bit. But right here, where the pads can touch metal, like right there, there's some points. Normally you should put a little grease right at those little areas. You'll get, if you don't, you may get some screeching pads that kind of scratch. And when you push and close them, might make a little bit of a noise. So I forget, it might have been the Bug Me video. I saw that you just put a tad of a little grease there on the, you can kind of see where it's touching a little bit, or in that general area. So I'll go figure that out. But anyway, I wanted to point that out. Am I taking a break? I just cooked her up some steak strip and little rice. She ate most of it. And then I put down some ground turkey that cooked up, and she stuck her nose up at it. It's what 14-and-a-half-old husky that's getting very picky. So it's my lunchtime. Have a leftover Whopper and some fries from yesterday. So, in case my face is in it, it's lunchtime. We'll see if I get back to work after this. The odds are against it. But I got some stuff done today, so cool. Okay, my bus working is halted up for the day. Did a little inspection. So originally I had purchased new brake pads and springs and all that stuff. Did buy one outer and one inner bearing, thinking that maybe I'd need one or the other. Ended up using both on the first side, the driver's side. As you can see, this one's quite a bit out of round. Up at the top there, it's all wedgied in. So I need to replace this. So I'm off to local import car parts place. They have one in stock. Gonna pick one up. And fortunately, the inner is fine, but this outer is pooped. So there you go. All right, I'm back from the parts store. I picked up a new bearing. All is good. So if I was super gung-ho, it's about 4:30 right now. I'd get back into working on my Volkswagen. But I'm not that gung-ho, as I've kind of said it here earlier today. But I'm going a new approach, Kaizen, and I'm going to do a little bit every day. Today, actually, I did pretty good, I feel. I got some things accomplished that I hadn't for a long time. So, fortunately, tomorrow I may have available time. Wife's doing some Hallmark thing or something, or picking up something. And so I'm going to say, yeah, I'm not going. I'm going to stay home and work on the drum. So I left you off at, I had the brake pads on, and so that's pretty much ready to go. Now it's time to work on the drum, get the bearings inserted. I don't have a punch, but yeah, I will be using a punch, actually. I don't have a press. So I have to slowly hammer them in, get them all greased up, and get the drum ready. And maybe tomorrow I can do that part and at least get the drum on and bolted down. And then I can continue on trying to get my Volkswagen bus back on the road. So I'm going to end it for today. I'll make this a complete video. And then a video in the future will be after I get the drum on and other stuff. So anyway, thanks for watching today. Hopefully you enjoyed my little bit of getting back into my Volkswagen bus. See ya.